So welcome to the Alpha Lambda Delta Summit on this fine Sunday afternoon. My name is Eileen Merberg, and I am the Executive Director of Alpha Lambda Delta. And happy to be here, happy to have you here. Co-facilitating with me today is Danielle from ALD headquarters.
Hi, everyone. I'm Danielle Barboza. I'm the Director of Communications and Chapter Engagement. Looking forward to this afternoon.
Great. Okay. So we want to just talk about a couple things. We're glad you're here and hope that you get a few things out of this. As you know, we're going to focus on two areas. One is, it's technically sort of three areas. One is just general sort of invitation season, because this is sort of peak invitation season for us as all your fellow students are getting invited. And then we'll talk about induction ceremonies. And in between there, we're going to talk a little bit about our new membership portal, which hopefully you've heard about. AMP, we're calling it Alpha Lambda Delta's member portal, AMP member portal. And then a couple things I'm going to focus on regarding the invitation sort of season. Some of you have current open active invitations right now. Some of yours will close soon. Some of you have not posted or sent an invitation yet in our new system called AMP. So this will apply to all of you at some point, if not this year, then next year. But certainly I think based on the schools I see, you either have not yet invited, and so all this stuff will be relevant, or you're currently inviting students. So I'm going to talk about just a couple strategies that we find are useful and here are effective ways to really get the word out about ALD. And those are some of them there. So I'll address each one. Okay, so let's just jump right in. And then at any point, if you have questions, there will be time for you to ask questions. You could put stuff in chat or unmute yourselves and feel free to join us here on Zoom. Okay, this might seem really basic, but for those of you who do not have a current invitation open yet, just so you know, the very first thing that needs to happen is who are you inviting? So this typically will come from your advisor. It really can't really come from anyone other than your advisor who gets it from the registrar, or they get their own, they might have their own access to whatever member student database your campus uses, Banner or a few others. Again, if you don't have an invitation out yet, check with your advisor for the list of eligible students. So that's what starts the ball rolling, is an Excel list of first name, last name, and email address. Those are the main three components that we need to invite students to join. And same with you. When you joined, you were on an email list and you went through the system as well. So again, I just wanted to mention this only because if you don't have an invitation, because I know Ohio State does not yet, and a few, I know IUI does, Arkansas does. So Converse, I believe, does not have an invitation yet. So feel free to check with your advisor about that. So I want to give you a little taste. Danielle is going to talk in a few minutes about AMP a little bit more in depth in terms of what role you can play with it as a student officer within your chapter. This is just a glimpse at the invitation, just so you know that this is our membership management system that generates an email, and that's a glimpse at the template, the first invitation they receive. So there's an accept button, accept membership button on there, and it would go out to all the invitees. One thing about this, and you might again recall when you were invited, we're going to ask you to reflect a little bit about when you were invited and what motivated you to join. So give that some thought when you first got invited. But sometimes the invitation, when it's coming from outside the university, might look a little like spam. It might not, you might not trust it. You might not know it's legit or think it's legit. So that's very similar with any sort of third-party system. So I mentioned that because I think that's really important for chapter officers to know that, and again, reflect on your own experience. Did you sort of think it was a little suspect at first? And that's normal. So this is the email that the students will receive. But the next slide is my challenge for you, or really a request to see if you can do this, is once an invitation is sent out to your eligible first year students, if there's any way that you can send an email as well. So I'm not sure, I'm not sure if you're allowed to, but at least ask your advisor if you can send an email as a student officer to get a list of those who are invited and send your own email, because anything coming from the university, and the advisor should do this as well, but anything coming from the university is just going to be more trusted. They're gonna know it's legit and that it's a real chapter, and that your university has a chapter. And so if you can email your invitees this semester once they're uploaded into our system and got that first invitation, that would be great. And just things like, hey, I'm the president of my chapter here. We're active. We're doing this next week, or we do this traditionally. Here's all the things I like about Alpha Lambda Delta. Here's all the benefits I've received, and you should join, and offer to answer any questions they have. So an email from .edu is a very powerful thing and can be very helpful. So if you're wanting to learn about ways to talk about Alpha Lambda Delta, promote ALD on your campus, and in particular, influence the students who are being invited and offer an opportunity for them to learn more about it, we strongly recommend that you offer some info sessions. They're, I think, best in person, but you could really think about more hybrid and offer both. Do one in person where you do have food, whether it's 20, large pizzas, or even just chips and pretzels or snacks or something, popcorn, just something to have. If you can get food there, that would be great. And then online, do them on Zoom as well. But they can be very effective. Again, students have a lot going on. They've got a lot of emails thrown at them. They might not really understand what Alpha Lambda Delta is all about. And they do have questions. They maybe don't want to ask the advisor for whatever reason, they don't ask. But if you can get them to come to an info session, we recommend that. If you're following along in chat, that first link Danielle shared is called the invited link. That's what students are sent to when we email them. If they, we say to learn more about Alpha Lambda Delta, click this link, and it takes them here because it's about ALD. It talks about benefits. There's a little video called Why Join. Talks about legitimacy, frequently asked questions. So you might want to become, as an officer, you might want to become familiar with that page. Then the resources link has just a ton of resources, including some downloadable, customizable documents that you might find useful as well, including an info session PowerPoint. So while I'm talking about info sessions, if you wanted to host one on your campus and have a PowerPoint showing that talks about ALD, there's a sample one there, a template. The third link she put in is our recordings of info sessions that we've hosted. So the last thing I'll say about info sessions is that we can host one for you if you'd like. So those work out really well for both the chapter and us. We're happy to do it. We can take on all the logistics, host the Zoom, advertise it, send out an email to your invitees to tell them when and where and how and what time and all that. And then if you could join in on it and help facilitate with us, that's a nice collaboration. So on that info sessions page, if you scroll down, you'll see some general ones we hosted last year, and we'll host more this year. Those are just going to be generic info sessions to multiple chapters. But if you'd like one just for yourselves, are the latest ones up there yet?
Yes.
Oh, they're there. Oh, they're in. Yeah. Okay.
Alphabetical
So,
order. Yep.
yep, the ones we did the last couple of weeks: University of District of Columbia, um, Pace University, Pleasantville, and University of Southern California. Those three were recent, and the rest were last year, but they're all pretty similar. So let us do an info session for you. We could just pick a mutually a date that works mutually for you and us. Nights, weekends are fine. Okay. Info sessions, really helpful.
Some of you may have noticed sort of this early this past fall, did like a soft launch of some updated colors with our branding. So still following with our red and gold, but we've sort of gone to a deeper maroon color and then a more true gold, where previously it was more of a yellow gold. So you can see those two updates there. And I will share the link as well, for access to all of our branding information. And a main important point is if you have any materials that have the previous colors that may be a little bit more of a true red and that yellow gold, you're still welcome to use all of those. We don't want anyone to be reprinting any materials, or if you have like table coverings or signs or anything like that, that's totally fine to still use what you may have. And then just at any point before you reprint, if you're going to create something new, our goal and hope is that you'll sort of transition into these more updated colors here. And then in the chat, I put the link to our brand management page. So you'll see a bit more detailed information about the exact color codes for these, links to different crests and logos, as well as links to some PDF documents of materials, print materials that you're able to request for your chapter for free that we can mail you. So some like our study tip bookmark and some brochures that you may have seen in the past, is all available there. And there's also some information for custom branding as well. So if you want a chapter specific logo, you can reach out to us to get that created for you on we'll do that for you for your chapter.
So, well, if you're looking at all at the brand management page, I want to just mention one more thing about that, but mostly for this next slide is another sort of challenge for you, and something that I'm going to encourage you to look into is what is your online presence? What is the if a student were to Google Alpha Lambda Delta at Converse, IUI, Ohio, Ohio State, etc., what will they find? Do you have an active Instagram account? Do you have a website on your chapter website, or are you on any social media? And more importantly, is it updated? Do you have credential, access to it? Do you have the credentials? Do you have the login access to those accounts? And you might want to Google anyway and find, even if you have an active, let's say, Instagram account and your university's got a website up for you, I would suggest you look into maybe older accounts that might exist, as sort of try and dig around and see if you can find older ones, because sometimes students, leaders in a chapter will create a social media account. Again, I'll just use Instagram as an example. And then they don't share. It's like their personal email address they use to create it. And then they graduate and nobody has login access. Nobody can get it. So it sits there, nothing ever dies out there on the internet. It's always like somehow searchable. And so then the new students 3 years later will just create another whole new Instagram account. So now there might be multiple ones. So I would just double check to see where you might have accounts that you don't have access to, and see if we can somehow purge them or get rid of them and start fresh. And the reason I put Waldo here is because sometimes check for your online presence in general. because sometimes you might be posting links to things like a social media account or a website that don't go anywhere because they don't exist anymore. Just want to encourage you to make sure you have sort of a handle on what's out there for your chapter, what's out there online. And what this is all about is a student gets invited, they get that email, they get an email from you and from us. They've not heard of Alpha Lambda Delta, it's not familiar. They're going to look it up. They're going to Google Alpha Lambda Delta. They're going to go right online. They're going to go on the university's website and look for it. They're maybe going to search for it on social media. And what will they find? Because if they find old, outdated information, it's not a good thing, not a good look. And I say this repeatedly, in my opinion, old and outdated and not updated information is worse than no information at all. Because if there's nothing, then they can't make assumptions about whether it's active or not necessarily. But if they see something that has the last post was like 2006 or, even 2010 or whatever year, I went back too far, even just 2020, they're going to just think that it's not an active chapter on campus. So that's it for that is just to sort of be aware. And the reason I was sort of focusing and staying on the brand management link that Danielle shared is if you're on it, or even if you're not, just know that at the bottom, if you scroll all the way down, there are a bunch of Instagram posts that we've posted over the years. We've had themes, we still do some study tip Sunday, why join Wednesday, fun fact Friday. Those are the main three that you can feel free to use these, just reuse these posts, just pick a few that you like, and you can join in on Why Join Wednesday, Fun Fact Friday, etc. So those are some social media posts that you can just sort of use on your accounts. All right. So if you remember my first slide when I talked about all the different ways that we'll just mention tips and strategies for how to talk to students about why they should join and encourage them to join is testimonials that I would encourage you all as active officers and students in your chapters to somehow record testimonials, either in writing or video. Is you're pretty involved and committed to Alpha Lambda Delta. You're an officer of your organization. You're here at this summit on a Sunday afternoon. That I think testimonials can be really helpful and powerful for students to hear about why other students join, what other students get out of it. That peer influence is pretty effective. Just encourage you to maybe poll your members, or jot down a few things about why you joined, what you benefit from, how you benefit from it. Ask your members to come up with a couple positive statements to say, and then use that. That could be a series of posts on Instagram. If you're willing to do videos, that's even better. Just because we know students like videos, quick, short videos. Why do describe ALD in one word, or what do you like about ALD? And video. Use your phones to record them and throw them up on a website or on your social media. So we've shared a couple things. We have a testimonials page where you'll see some examples of what students have said over the years that we like to promote. And then I asked to just share this organization called greatnonprofits.org, just so you can see some examples of other people's testimonials. And then if you were so inclined, that last link in chat is to actually invite you to write something on our Great Nonprofits account. So that would be great if you had a few things you could say positively. It just helps. Again, students are looking us up. They're asking questions and they're finding stuff online, and I'd like it to be positive. The last thing I'd like to say about the testimonials piece is that be careful about if all your messaging regarding that all your testimonials are not all about being an officer. Because the officers tend to be the most active in the chapter because that's the nature of being an officer is you're running things. Um, but the general student who's thinking about joining Alpha Lambda Delta might not really be interested in being a leader in the organization. They might not really want to be all that involved. The majority are not. Like we induct 22,000 students every year, and there's about 1,000 students who are officers. So you can see, the majority don't aspire to be leaders in the organization. We want to make sure that they hear messaging about why to join, even if they don't want to be an officer. I hope that makes sense because sometimes your messaging might be, I learned all these great leadership skills because I joined the exec board and I went to the conference because I'm the chapter president. And that might not always resonate with the general student who we want to join. So talk about benefits broadly is my main point there. So what I want to do real quick, here is another participation point where we are going to award prizes based on this. So we're going to do 2 polls. So the first one is which recruitment effort does your chapter use the most? So it's going to include some that I haven't even covered, but and I'll talk about them after I put the poll up. The poll stay. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna just launch this first poll. So we talked about like the brochures and things that Danielle mentioned your campus might have, the emails we've mentioned, we talked about info sessions. We didn't really talk too much about orientation and tabling, but I will in a minute. So email is not a surprise. That's great. That's really, like I said, the initial one from us, and then any that come from you or the advisor is also good. Thrilled to see info session. That's great. And then tabling is one thing that I didn't talk about in my PowerPoint, but I knew based on the poll, I wanted to see what came up. So tabling is also a great way to spread the word about ALD. And that can be year round. It doesn't have to be at just the club fairs that are the beginning of each semester, but it's just a great visual way, especially in busy places like the student union lobby or an academic building that gets a lot of traffic, or the library lobby if you can. So strongly encourage tabling. Tabling is a nice way to also involve a lot of your members, current members, and or other officers. Just a place to, hang out, sign up for a couple of hours a day, have food or candy or some giveaways. So great. Yeah. So I am going to then now do a second poll that's related. And this one is related more to what the national officer headquarters could do to support you. So are there recruitment efforts that you could use some help with? So are there things that we can do for you or we can communicate to your chapter advisors about? Let us know. Okay, so distributing material, info sessions, orientation. So those are some big ones. So distributing material on campus. I do think that let's go back. Let me see if I can screen share. Or Danielle, can you screen share brand management?
Yes.
So if you just look at that, you don't have to necessarily be looking at it now, but on the brand management link, um, there's lots of material, a couple things that we provide to you, physical things, and you can also use some of the PDFs to email students, so that's sort of distributing too. But there is a study tip bookmark that is really perfect for the tabling, and it's also perfect for orientation. So the study tips bookmark is really meant for the not even invited student. Is to raise awareness about ALD, particularly in the summer and fall, because at the time when you don't even know if students are going to be eligible, it's sort of going to be as it says, study tips. It's got study tips on it, sort of motivating students to do well academically. And the messaging is, if you if you do well, you're going to get invited to join us in the spring. So that's great for orientation. If you could get it stuffed in orientation packets, if you're allowed, or to hand out during freshman seminar courses, if you can get a few minutes in the beginning of each freshman seminar, if you have them. And then tabling on campus. That's what you could have as a giveaway. So those are great, free. We provide them. Talk to your advisor about placing an order with us so that, and they might already have them. So check with your advisor. They might have them in stock. As Danielle mentioned, we're phasing out a brochure and we're doing more of an insert, which is going into letters home. But that insert can also be just distributed around campus. And then we have stickers, which we haven't really talked about our stickers. Can you show that shows the images? So we have these two stickers. Oh, I think are we phasing out the 100?
Yes, I think we
Yeah,
might have some left, but we're not reprinting.
yeah. So we have tons of these Greek letter stickers, which are pretty popular. So you can get those and hand distribute those around. And then what else for that brand management page?
We
Those
have
are the main.
the
Oh,
new campus one too.
yeah. So that's a campus promo that right now is not printed, but you could probably print it if you want. And in terms of literal distribution, I think the most common ways are tabling on campus in high traffic areas, orientation. If another one I hear a lot about is if you have freshman residence halls, freshman dorms. If there's a lobby in the freshman dorm, if you're allowed, put bookmarks or some sort of publication on the counter of the front desk at the freshman residence hall. Lobbies of academic buildings, again, maybe where a lot of freshmen might be. Yeah, those are, and then hit up your advisor. Your advisor hopefully has certainly more access to the faculty and staff on campus, their colleagues, where they could send some information to their colleagues. Orientation, I think I mentioned too, is if you can coordinate or ask permission, I guess, of your director of orientation and see if there is oftentimes at orientation, the students get a little packet of something, a bag, tote bag, or a folder, if there could be something ALD related in there, that, but especially the bookmark. And the other thing about orientation, it's not quite orientation, but sometimes it overlaps, is move-in days is another great way to promote ALD, is if you can volunteer to help the first year students move in the fall.